Greetings from a galaxy far, far away, everyone. My name is Dominic, and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. At least that's what we normally do around these parts, but today I have something a little bit different. On the channel today, we'll be reviewing the Star Wars Insider Presents the Original Trilogy box set from Titan Comics. And I know I said review, but this is really more of an overview of this release, as these are not comic issues or anything narratively heavy. It was harder to give kind of a letter grade to this set, so I thought I'd do more of a comprehensive overview about what this box set entails. And while this is not proper comics here, I have reviewed a number of Star Wars comics on the channel before, as well as other comic releases from Titan Comics. So I hope you'll indulge this little bit of a diversion from our normal content, and if not, hopefully we'll catch you next time. Now, before we dive into that overview, just a huge thank you to those at Titan Comics for sending over this release in exchange for this review, and as always, I'd like to shout out the channel sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com. If you're looking to pick up your own comic book collected editions, I always encourage you to check out their website. You can find a link to them in this video's description, and if you see anything on their site you like, you can use my discount code at checkout, TheComicBookReport, to save $2 off of your order. Please note if you use my affiliate link or code to make a purchase, I will earn a small commission, but it's a fantastic way to support this channel. Thank you for considering. Now on with today's overview. Alright, and as always with box sets on this channel, it's always a bit tricky knowing exactly how to do reviews for them. I know in the past I've reviewed Scott Pilgrim, a couple different box sets of that. I know I've reviewed the Batman One Bad Day box set, things like that. But anyway, for this Star Wars box set, I'll just give you a look at a couple different views of the exteriors, then I'll probably go into what is in the actual box. We'll take a look at all the contents, and then each of the 3 individual books to a little bit of a closer degree. From a bird's eye look at this collection, though, it is a beautiful oversized hardcover box that has 3 essential books, all of which cover an individual movie within the original Star Wars trilogy. So we have a book showcasing on Star Wars A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. Along with those, we also have a little postcard kind of art piece for each of the book releases that kind of mirror the cover of each individual book. And that really is what this box set is composed of. Essentially, each of these books is a behind-the-scenes look at each of these films. We go into things about the filmography, behind-the-scenes imagery, storyboards, things about the actors, special effects, you name it. As a long-term, lifetime Star Wars fan, particularly of this original trilogy, I'm happy to say that this is such a treat for devoted fan and newcomer to the franchise alike, and there was genuinely information in this set I never knew. It's worth noting as well that each of these books has nice kind of glossy archival paper stock, I believe a sewn binding, we'll take a look at that as we go into it, and a total of about 384 pages. The books are loaded with information. In fact, confessionally, there are a couple bits that I skim read just because there's so much detail, but I did take my time with this over a couple months, and I enjoyed the ride. I would consider this a great gift box set for the Star Wars fan in your life. As a Star Wars fan myself, I think this is a welcome addition to the Star Wars library. It could be a coffee table book or coffee table book collection, rather. Again, I just really love the depths of research this seemed to go into. I think that these books were lovingly put together, and again, as a fan of the original trilogy, this is just such a fun companion work. At any rate, as I mentioned at the top of the video, I wanted to show you that box at a couple different angles, and now I'm going to go ahead and just remove all of the contents so you can just see it all at a glance. Again, I thought this would be a good way to showcase what this set actually entails, give you a kind of bird's eye look at everything. I think I've set the stage a little bit. I know I'll go in detail at each of the books in this collection. We'll look at the front, spine, back covers. I think I'll do the binding of maybe the first book in the collection, and then I'll just do a quick flip through for a couple minutes of each of these books, again just to give you a sampling of what this box set can provide. Again, this is a little bit off the beaten path of my normal comic book reviews, but as a largely product-based book review channel, I think it's still close enough to the wheelhouse that you're hopefully enjoying it. I know there's a lot of cross-pollination between comic fans and Star Wars fans, and there's a lot of Star Wars comic fans. I've found a lot of you on this channel when I've reviewed Star Wars collections, so I hope there's a couple people in my audience that will enjoy this. Flipping the books over, these are the back covers for each of those 3 books. I love that we get all of this in the box set. It's a great way to kind of honor that original trilogy and just give you, again, an inside look at the creation of each of those just landmark films. And I love the design work we get. The amount of archival information and images and things we get, it's just really breathtaking. Of course, you'll see more of that as we go into the actual books in a couple moments. And before we go book by book in this box set, I wanted to showcase just the little postcard kind of art prints we got. Again, these are reproductions of the covers of each of those books, one for New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, respectively. Kind of nice that they threw these in. I know Titan's done this with some of their box sets. Like I have the Blade Runner 2019 box set. We got little postcard art images in that as well. Really cool little facet here from Titan. Okay, and now as discussed, we're going to go book by book through this box set. So to do that, we're going to start with Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. So this is the book covering, you guessed it, that first film in the Star Wars franchise. Love the cover of this. I like that each of these books has kind of a white field behind it. We have the text, and I punched out black here for Star Wars. Really dig that. Love the imagery we got on the front cover as well. Just all striking stuff. We've already looked at the spine kind of specifically for each of these collections in like a kind of overview shot, so we're just going to go to the back cover. Love the image of Vader there, got a little bit more of a blurb about the collection, and after that we can go ahead and transition to the binding. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and look at the binding of this first book, but I likely won't do this for each of the books in the set. You can just accept that all the bindings are pretty comparable to what we have here in the first book. I mentioned earlier I thought it was sewn, but it could be glued. A little hard to tell, but at any rate, the binding is really good. The pages lay down fine. Very little to no gutter loss. A perfect little art book here. I have no complaints whatsoever on the binding. Okay, and just because I can't leave you completely without comics over the course of this video, let's go ahead and do a size comparison of one of these books with some other typically accepted comic book formats. To do that, I have a couple in my Star Wars collection. I have the Star Wars Hidden Empire trade paperback from Marvel Comics. This is a standard comic book size, about the height or trim size of a single issue comic book. I also have the Star Wars by Jason Aaron Omnibus, which I did do a full review for on this channel if you'd like more details on that. A fantastic entry into the Star Wars comics universe in my mind. But again, just to give you some size comparisons so you can just see how big these books actually are, especially if you're a comic fan, just to give you kind of a scale or size comparison. I should note I have yet to finish Hidden Empire. If you'd like to see a review of that on my channel, let me know. I did enjoy going through the War of the Bounty Hunters as well as the Crimson Reign trade paperbacks. So bought this, been meaning to read it, have kind of put it off. But perhaps your comment can push me over and get me to review it. Let me know. Okay, jumping into the first book in this box set, we have some end pages. The first page has kind of the contents, a little bit of publication and editorial information, and then we jump right into the set. I love that we have a bit of a table of contents, and setting off this book, we also have some quick kind of overview, statistics, numbers, information about the first entry in this franchise. Of course, I'm talking about Star Wars, A New Hope. Really love how these collections are laid out. There's definitely uniformity between each of these 3 volumes. But there are some distinctions as well. You know, this is the first entry in the Star Wars universe, and because of that, this is a very foundational book. I honestly really liked this book specifically in the collection. It might be my high bar compared to the other 2, although they're all really comparable. It's hard to maybe assign that kind of weighting, especially because I love Empire Strikes Back. That might be my favorite Star Wars film, but each of these books, like I said, has a novel kind of own approach. You know, this has a lot of the origins of Star Wars, where it came from, the scrappiness of that first film. The second and third begin to kind of talk about the expansion or growth or pop culture everything of those subsequent films. Return of the Jedi obviously concluding that part of the saga. So I really like how they addressed parts of that in this box set. I think as just a casual fan of books like this, we also had a great amount of art from McQuarrie, I think is his name, the kind of Star Wars, production artist, storyboarder kind of extraordinaire that gave a lot of those kind of quintessential imagery and images of Star Wars. Love seeing that. I love the pictures and production stills of some of the special effects behind the scenes on that. Really, really enjoyed that part personally. We have some background on the storytelling and story in general. We have some stuff about George Lucas and how this all came to be. A lot of fun little factoids, a lot of pictures of the actors, actresses, different parts of the crew sometimes, and just, yeah, really great stuff. Obviously, Star Wars is such a huge, impactful part of the zeitgeist that a book like this just really touches on so much of cinematic history, pop culture history, you name it. Next, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Star Wars Empire Strikes Back book as part of this box set. Again, at this point, you can kind of know what to expect with these releases. Now, they're not perfectly uniform, but you get a lot of consistency amongst these books, and it makes a fantastic set in and of itself. Love the kind of white framing of each of these books as well. The images we get on the front covers, they're all just beautiful, and this one included. Again, this book covers my favorite Star Wars films, so I knew I was going to like this, and it really didn't disappoint. The back cover as well has a bit of a blurb about the collection. We have some more images from Empire Strikes Back. I love, love, love to see it. Definitely sets the stage for what we can come and expect in this book. Okay, this time as we make our way into the collection, we have some really interesting end pages that showcase some of the actors. We have a title page, some of that publication information page, I believe, a table of contents, and then we jump right into the collection. Like I mentioned at the last entry, this also sets off kind of what happened before in Star Wars. It gives us a little bit about the contextual history of what was going on when the second one began production, or where it was in culture, how the first one was received. We have some statistics about this release, which I like to see as well. It was cool to get some empirical numbers about this, and like the first volume, we got a lot of great still snapshots, production images, behind the scenes stuff with the actors, actresses, filmmakers, crew, just all of it. We get to talk about how the mythos expanded. They cover things like Mark Hamill's accident prior to Empire Strikes Back and how the story even had to pivot to account for that and things like that. Really just enjoyed it. I love the behind the scenes factoids. This is like a written version of some of the DVD or Blu-ray extras I feel like I would see on some of these film collections, and having this in an art kind of coffee table like box set or book set is just a real treat. Really, these books are so fascinating. Like I said, I think they're really palatable and interesting for the casual Star Wars fan, along with the just diehard, hardcore Star Wars fan. Like I said, even as a pretty good Star Wars fan myself, I would say I learned a bunch reading these books. There were facts in here I just never knew, or people involved with the films I was unaware of, or some of the approaches or how they came to certain story bits, or how they did things production-wise that I just had no idea. And again, this is after seeing so many like behind the scenes extras, videos, and documentaries, and just being a general fan. The fact that a book like this could still illuminate some of this for me was a real treat as a longtime fan of this saga. And of course, rounding out the box set, the final book in today's collection, we have to talk about the Star Wars Return of the Jedi book. Like the others in the collection, we have that white frame, which is really brilliant. We have the black Star Wars lettering, font, title, things like that. And then we have a great image from Return of the Jedi. Love to see the look of this. It's definitely like a promotional image, but I really think it's absolutely striking. Back cover as well, we're treated to even more art. We don't have as much of the white background here on the back of the book, but it's still really interesting. We have like reviews, a little bit about a blurb about the collection. Did that come out right? A little bit of a blurb about the collection. There we go. That sounds a little better. At any rate, after that, we jump into the third collection, and this might sound a bit monotonous, but kind of the same thing we've been seeing. We have some end pages, title page contents, and we jump right into the book, talking a little bit about what came before, some statistics about the movie itself, and then again, just a wealth of behind the scenes information. Kind of the bookend to the first book in this collection. I like that this is kind of wrapping up this original trilogy. We have some notes about the future of this franchise at this point, what other entries or stories they hope to include in the Star Wars saga, but how this was kind of an end point to this part. I liked reading stuff about that. I liked seeing stuff about George Lucas and how they wanted to wrap this film, what characters they wanted to bring back or loop in, kind of some alternatives that could have happened. I think that stuff like that is just fascinating as a fan. Again, just having that wealth of information and also just imagery throughout this. Again, some behind the scenes like little looks at different special effects, actors, props, or whatever. Like, I really like the detail work here. Again, I'm being a bit repetitive, but you can get the feeling for what these books include, but I'm never going to convey the amount of information that is really just loaded into this box. I think if you're a fan of Star Wars, this again is a series that I really recommend. This insider look box set here from Titan. I really just love how this is put together. I would honestly love to see a box set like this for the prequel and sequel trilogy as well. I think that would look pretty handsome on a bookcase, but even if it was just this original trilogy, I think that this is, again, a fantastic keepsake and something for all the Star Wars fans you know. I really, really did enjoy this one. I can't wait to share it with my wife, who is also a huge Star Wars fan, admittedly a bigger one than myself. I'm curious to see if she'll hit on as many kind of surprising moments as I did, kind of making my way through this set. And of course, we got the Ewoks. How can you not like Ewoks? Can I talk about the original trilogy without mentioning Ewoks? I don't know. Anyway, I might be rambling at this point, but we're wrapping this up. I really, really enjoyed this box set. Love Return of the Jedi, and this was another fantastic book. Okay, and that's your overview look at the Star Wars Original Trilogy box set collection from Titan Comics. Again, this was such a beautiful love letter to the original trilogy. I was amazed at the production value Titan put into this. A really wonderful set. Each of the books individually is wonderful. Having it all together to showcase some of the best films, period. Wow, what an incredible resource, incredible piece of history, and I just really enjoyed my time with it. The fact that we also get little art pieces and stuff too in this box set, just a really fun little addition. Again, I hope you've enjoyed this overview. I know it wasn't traditional comic book fare. I don't try to deviate from my formula too much, but I hope, again, you'll indulge me. I really enjoyed this. Let me know if you plan to pick up this box set or if you heard of it, if you enjoyed this video or not. Just let me know. Thank you again so much for stopping by. And a huge thank you again to our contacts over at Titan for sending over this review copy. Until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to leave your like, those comments we talked about, and maybe share this video with a friend. Thanks everyone. Bye.